Angry times. We sing the song Angry Words. I won't sing to you, I'll spare that, but angry times. I want to think for just a few minutes, maybe 9 more minutes, about how to manage your anger. It's likely you and people around you are more short-tempered, more angry than usual, and there are reasons for that. Maybe you've been quarantined for a long time, can't get out. Maybe you've been laid off from your job, or you can't work at this time. Or maybe you turn on the TV and you see injustice, and that angers you. I just want to say this morning in this devotional that anger doesn't have to win. And maybe now more than ever, we need to realize that faith can keep us calm, even in times of crises like these. And I want you to know that I know that anger is not always wrong. God gets angry. So there is appropriate anger, and I understand that. But mismanaged anger is a problem. Mismanaged anger leads to sin, leads us to do and say sinful things. Thankfully, God can help us manage our anger. And I want to say, maybe there's somebody out there who right now already has said, I'm just an angry person. I tried to say that to my wife before, and she just doesn't buy it. We're going to have to, that's no excuse to just be angry all the time. It's wrong. It's not for us as Christians, I'll tell you that. All right, so let's think of a little bit. Number one, realize the cost of uncontrolled anger. There's uncontrolled anger always has a price tag. Proverbs 29:22 says, an angry person causes trouble. You know that. Maybe you've caused trouble before with your anger. Or maybe you've seen somebody cause a lot of trouble with their anger. And there's a cost to that. The book of Proverbs lists a variety of troubles caused by anger. In Proverbs 14:29, it says anger leads to mistakes. All kinds of mistakes. In Proverbs 14:17, it leads to foolish actions. In Proverbs 11, it says anger leads to broken relationships. Consequences. We need to realize the cost of uncontrolled anger. Let me give you just a few consequences that I found online. Cost. Number one, it costs you your health. Yeah, if you're going to be angry all the time, it costs you your health. Number two, self-esteem. When you get angry and you act foolishly, then you realize how stupid it was, and your self-esteem is gone. Number three, anger can cause relationships. People can't stand to be around that toxic anger all the time. Number four, it says your children. Your children. It costs you your children. Number five, maybe workplace. What gets accomplished in the workplace, both quantitatively and qualitative, can be severely compromised by poorly managed anger, frustration, and resentment. Anger. Realize the cost of your anger. Number two, resolve to manage your anger. We need to decide, am I going to let anger continue to hurt others, hurt me, or am I going to manage it? Am I going to learn to manage it? And you need to quit saying, if you say it, you need to quit saying, I just can't do anything about it. You can. And with God's help, your anger is controllable. In Proverbs 29:11 says, fools give full vent to their rage, but the wise bring calm in the end. We need to prepare in advance on how we're going to respond in certain circumstances. There's some situations, maybe every time we're in those situations, it leads to anger. We need to figure out a different way to deal with that. We need to resolve to manage our anger. Number 3, we need to reflect before reacting. In other words, we need to think before we speak. Don't just simply respond impulsively. James writes this letter to people who are struggling. They've got issues. They have problems too. And he says, my dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God requires. James 1:19 and 20. Quick to listen. When people feel listened to, it reduces their frustration. It eases their hurt. But sometimes in our anger, we're not quick to listen. We shut our ears and we talk. And that's issues. That's causing issues. It's causing pain and hurt and division. When people feel listened to, then we can talk. Then they feel like we love them and we care. Somebody said anger control is just mouth control. Or you tame your temper by taming your tongue. Reflect before reacting. Number 4, release your anger appropriately. Anger isn't necessarily the problem. It only becomes a problem when we release it inappropriately. Ephesians 4:26 says, in your anger, do not sin, NIV. Many of us express anger in ways that move us further away from the goal. It moves us further away from the solution. It moves us further away from the relationship. If we want our hurts healed and frustrations resolved and fears relieved, sinful anger will only get in the way. So what's the best way to deal with anger? Don't repress it. That leads to depression. I'm reading this. Don't express it in inappropriate ways like sarcasm. Instead, confess it. Let people know that you're hurt. It's much easier to deal with fear or frustration than it is to deal with anger. And then finally, repattern your mind. Your thoughts determine your emotions. Your emotions determine your actions. And if you want to break the habit of anger, you'll need to change the way you think. Probably since we were young, we learned how to get angry. We learned it from other kids around us. Maybe we learned it from our parents, our fathers maybe. We watched and we learned as it was modeled for us. The good news is we can unlearn this behavior too. In Romans 12:2 it says, don't be like people of the world. Let God change the way you think. Then you will know how to do everything that's good and pleasing to Him. Romans 12:2. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So ask God. Ask God to fill you with His love. God's love is the secret to transforming us from angry people to peaceful people. In 1 Corinthians 13:5, it tells us, love is not easily angered. When we're filled with God's love, anger won't rule us. And so this week, as we watch TV, as we live our lives, let's watch out for that anger that causes so much pain and ask God to help us. Maybe stop and count to 10. Love you. Hope you have a good week. God bless.